What's up guys, my name is ESO and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be looking at the best race for Skyrim's survival mode. If you are looking to do a survival mode playthrough, the game doesn't actually tell you at the very start which race will have which benefit while you're playing survival mode. So today I'm going to show you each one and tell you which one is the best. So before we get into this video guys, I want to tell you something really cool that I think is going to help you guys out. Because I get so many comments and messages on YouTube that it's quite hard for me to read everything. I do try and reply to some of them, but it's just impossible for me to reply to all of them. So what I've done is I've made a server on Discord. Now some of you already know about this, but for those of you that don't, if you press the Discord link in the top of the description, it will actually take you to this chat room. And as you can see on the left hand side there are lots of categories. So if you're struggling with a certain thing, like you want a new character build and you need some suggestions or inspiration, you're struggling with modding Skyrim or even Fallout or anything like that, then go ahead, check out that chat room, and you can talk to people on there and they'll help you out. It's a great place to be. You'll sometimes even see me on there, and now and again I like to play games with my subscribers as well, and I do that through Discord. There are chat rooms for the different games that I play, and you can make other friends to play other games with. So it's just a cool place to hang out, and I just wanted to tell you guys about it. Before we go over all 10 races and I tell you which one is the best for survival mode, I do recommend checking out my survival mode review video, where I actually walk through all the different mechanics in survival mode, and then you'll get a better understanding of how important each one of these benefits are to each one of the races. I will explain them briefly in this video, but I do recommend checking that other video out about survival mode first, if you haven't watched it yet. You can check out that video down below, I've linked it in the description. Now let's go through the top 10 races for survival mode in Skyrim. Now there are actually 3 races that have no advantage whatsoever in survival mode. They also have no weakness, but actually it's worse. These are the worst 3 races to pick, they just have nothing going for them. The first one is the Imperial, which is also probably one of the worst races in the game anyway, just because they have a very boring passive, which allows you to find a little bit more gold in containers, but I mean you don't really need that, it's not very useful. The next one we have is the Red Guard. They also have no advantage in survival mode. And then lastly we have the Breton. Now just so you guys know, if you are playing a mage, and you might be if you're playing a Breton character, you can use a spell called Flame Cloak, which will actually make you immune to freezing water, and it will also make you extremely warm while walking around in snowy conditions. So do bear that in mind if you are using a Breton. But now it's going to get more interesting. The next 3 races, which are still kind of not amazing, but still okay in certain ways, have a 25% resistance to fatigue. And these races are the Wood Elf, the Dark Elf, and finally the High Elf. Now the High Elf and the Wood Elf will be benefited most from this perk. Basically what fatigue does in survival mode is it reduces your total magicka. So as you're adventuring, your character is going to become fatigued, and this will affect their total magicka. Which obviously if you're playing a Dark Elf or a High Elf, you're probably going to be using some magic spells. So it's kind of annoying when you actually have a handicap on your magicka. So it's kind of annoying if you're playing a mage and you have a handicap to your total magicka. But if you're playing a Dark Elf or High Elf or even a Wood Elf, then you'll actually fatigue 25% slower. Being fatigued will also affect things like how well you can lockpick, how much you can carry, and also how effective potions are. So do bear that in mind. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual interesting races, and the ones that are going to be pretty decent for survival mode. Out of the ones we've gone over so far, I would say the High Elf and the Dark Elf are okay, but they're not great. So the next race, and I'm so happy it's high up on this list, because these guys can breathe underwater. Yes, we know. But it's usually not that helpful when you're playing Skyrim. But in survival mode, the Argonian becomes quite a bit better, because they have something called a raw diet passive. So what this means is that in survival mode, if you go around and eat lots of raw food, you'll actually get food poisoning, and you can get sick and have lots of negative effects, and you just don't want to eat raw food. But because Argonians are absolute savages, they don't care. They'll just eat raw food all day and you'll have no negative repercussions. So it's kind of like a lazy man's build, but I think it's pretty cool. The only downside of playing an Argonian, it's like Bethesda hate Argonian. They actually get colder 25% faster than any other race, which isn't really very useful at all when you're playing a game where you don't want to get cold because otherwise you'll die. This can be mitigated if you use spells such as the Flame Cloak spell, or you just wear more fur. But to be honest, it actually kind of annoys me that Argonians have a weakness to the cold. The next one we're going to go over is the Nord, a fan favourite. Now the Nord actually has a 25 point resistance to the cold. It's like they're permanently drunk, they can like run around naked in the snow and be pretty much fine. To give you an idea of how much 25 points of resist cold is, if you're wearing fur armor, that gives you about 30 points of resist cold. So having 25 points as well means you're going to be pretty warm and toasty, even if you're wearing steel plate armor or something else. You're going to be pretty fine. You're not really going to have to worry about the cold too much when you're playing a Nord, which makes them a very, very good choice. I was making so many hand gestures there that I just hit my microphone. So the next race, guys, we have here is the Orc. Almost the best race in survival mode. And in fact, if you watch my other video on the top 10 races in the game, where I look at the different passives of each race and which one is the best for damage, being a tank, and so on, then you will know that the Orc is actually the best race in Skyrim. I will link that video down below in the description if you want to watch it and check it out. But the Orc is actually kind of like a jack of all trades. So first off, he has a 15% resistance to hunger and fatigue. We already explained fatigue. Hunger is kind of the same. It just means you have to eat food, otherwise you'll starve and you'll have negative effects and things like this. So here, he basically gets hungry slower because he's a savage. He also gets an increase to the cold environments by 10 points. So he's not like as good as any other race, but he's just like, makes you more survivable in every way for survival mode, which is pretty useful to be honest. So the Orc is a very solid choice when you're playing survival mode. One of the best choices in fact, definitely in the top 3. Lastly guys, we have my favourite race. This is the best race in my opinion for survival mode, the Khajiit. Khajiits have a natural 25 point resistance to cold because they are covered in fur. I mean, look at them, they're so cute and cuddly. How can you say no to this face? Meow. They also have the raw diet ability, which like Argonians means they can eat raw food. The good thing is that they actually have the opposite effect of Argonians, meaning they don't have that weakness to cold. They're actually fine with the cold. So it just makes them better than Argonians in every way, which is kind of depressing. I mean, Bethesda literally hate Argonians. I'm saying it like that's just a fact, I feel like. Everything... I feel like Argonians get the short straw on everything because Khajiits are better in every way for survival mode. I mean, favoritism wise, I would probably put the Orc higher than the Khajiit just because they're all round survivable. But the nice thing about the Khajiit is that if you're a bit lazy and you don't have any healing potions or anything and you're in a dungeon, you can just eat raw meat or raw animals you find in the wilderness and you don't have to worry about getting any diseases. And obviously that 25 points to the cold resistance is so helpful. So I actually like that a bit more than playing the Orc personally. But the Orc is still a very good choice and possibly arguably the best choice for survival mode. Now the thing is, you can really play any race you want in survival mode and you can make it work. But obviously playing the Orc or the Khajiit, you're just going to have a better advantage over the other races. Especially with the Nord as well. I would say they're definitely the top 3 races. The Argonian is a bit of a trade-off race where it's quite interesting because you have the weakness to cold, but you also get to eat anything you want, and that's quite a... when you actually start to play it, it's a lot easier if you can eat what you like and you don't have to care about anything. But guys, I really hope you did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button because it really does help me out. And don't forget to check out the Discord channel linked below in the description and come and introduce yourself. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic day and goodbye.